I have a wonderful guest coming to speak with me today, Amir Jahangiri. Hopefully, I'll get that translation of his name properly. He lives in England, not so far from me, and he does some very interesting work with clearing the body of entities and attachments. And he does very in-depth, detailed work. So I'm very excited to talk to him. As you know, I love to share this information with you so that we start to make it normal to take etheric cleansing just as normal as brushing your teeth, because we are beset by many, many parallel realities, different dimensional entities and beings constantly weaving their influence upon our own fibers. So we have to get very conscious about it. And the more people I can talk to about this, the better. People like Oksana Buchanan, go back and look on some pages of The Heavenly Tea. You'll see my lovely chats with her. She is brilliant. She's probably the best person I know for removing entities because she goes in on a deep soul level. Yvette Stables, who I just interviewed recently, and we talked about different kinds of healing on a soul level. Who else? Oh, yes, Matthew of Okay, Let's Do This. To an extent, he does some of this work. A lot of my friends kind of do it in the background, just like I demonstrate over again and again how you can go back and scan, and everyone will find their own way of doing it. Here he is. I'm going to let him in. The Wizard of Wivenhoe is his real name. I am excited to have you. Hello. Are those real books, Amir? You can't answer me yet, can you? Because you can't. You're still muted. Hello.
There we go. How are you? Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, pleasure to meet you. I'm so excited. And I've had a really bubbly day. Well, I've just finished a course and uploaded it. So my energy is quite champagne-y, which is fun.
Fantastic. Good to hear that. I'm
Yeah.
very delighted. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I hope that we have a really wonderful discussion with each other.
I have a feeling we will. So I just did a tiny little introduction, but I decided actually some people I will go and have a look at research. But because you came so beautifully recommended and I liked you, I thought, hey, let's just do this as an adventure because that's more exciting for anyone listening as well. So,
Absolutely.
Amir, can you just pronounce your surname because I want to get that correct?
Yes, Jahangiri.
Ah, Jahangiri. Okay, beautiful. That
Yes.
sounds almost Pakistani, but it's not. Where is it?
Yes, well, in Indian, Pakistani, Iranian, so this is an Iranian surname.
Ah, oh, there's Iranians, hey? Because there's such a deep culture. I had a brilliant professor who was Iraqi, but
Yes.
he had attracted many different Iranian students to follow under him, so I was always dealing with them. Very
Yes.
brilliant people. What are you doing in England?
Well,
Yeah, that could be a long
living
story.
the life of freedom, pursuing all I can become. So I owe everything to this wonderful country. I got my doctorate here, and I was free to pursue spirituality here. None of these would be possible in other places of the world. So I'm incredibly grateful. This is my beloved home.
Oh, oh, wonderful, because sometimes I dissociate with my country, not with the nature, but I don't feel much affiliation with Britain,
Yes.
much more with the US at the moment, because at
Mhm.
least there is an energy presence of change and shift and movement. There is in England, but it's such a strange thing. You know, there's that sleepiness. I'm sure you felt all these layers. And there's a sort of kind of an anger, but it doesn't really kind of go anywhere other than a bit of shouting. And this actual change, the mills in England feels like it's almost impossible to do.
Yes. Yes. Well, it's a more ancient and rich culture with a lot of heritage. It has seen lots of ups and downs, gone through many difficulties, and come out the other side victorious. Such is the nature of older cultures. They're resilient, they don't get excited too easily. It takes quite a lot to shift them off balance. So I think I like this, let's say, sleepy culture. It's a classy sleepy. I prefer this to the loud banging of pistols and all the rah rah rah. I much prefer this type of living.
Uh,
Lots of tradition, change comes with a bit of resistance. That's quite okay. I live in Cambridge where the buildings are very old. They don't allow new development. It's very difficult to change the structure of the city, but I like it. You know what? If it's working, why fix it?
uh, it is a beautiful place. My first love was in Cambridge. He was a maths scholar at Trinity. So I used to go up there on the train and visit him, and it has special memories for me. So it's a nice place to be the hermit, which I
Oh, yeah.
suspect you might be. And maybe one day, not too far in the future, you can go and blow all the breezes back into Iran. My daughter,
Yes.
who's 28 and a lawyer, she has taken herself traveling on her own to Iran.
Wow.
Blonde girl, long blonde hair, blue eyes, little girl, courageous, and just sort of made friends and traveled on her own and loved
Fantastic.
it.
You might be surprised, but Iran is unbelievably safe for many reasons. One, they keep a close eye on you, just in
Mm.
case. But other than that, the people are incredibly welcoming. That is true with the Middle East. There's this tradition of being gracious hosts. People are very interested. Hey, where are you coming from? What on earth are you doing here? And they would invite people to their homes. Even if they're not very rich, they really go out and they do their very best. They throw a party, show you all of grandma's favorite recipes and so on. Maybe they don't have it themselves every day, but they'll really try to show their guest a good time. So I would recommend, hopefully, the world is going to go through this madness that we're experiencing now, and it'll be possible for people to travel freely in friendship, and for everything to be sane again. By the way, you've got orbs flying all around you.
They are artificial, but I love them anyway. I have these disco balls I rescued from an attic of a house I had. So I hang them in the bushes outside my window.
Okay.
So it's just metaphoric for what actually happens around here.
They're real. They're real. We'll
They
just
are
say that
real in
they're
a different
real.
level, yeah.
Yes, yes. They're real, real, real.
Yeah, I know. You should see what I draw. It's going to be such a delight to kind of go into depth. So now, Laura Eisenhower and who was it? I think it was Akim Ra were just
Yes.
speaking about your work recently. And I was telling my audience about, I have a dear friend, Oksana Buchanan, who has this wonderful soul retrieval ability. She'll go into the origin of the soul and get back all the pieces and bring them back together and massively wonderful things. Now, I sense that you've got this very discerning ability to see. Would you like to tell us a little bit about how that grew in you? Because I think that's a beautiful thing to hear.
Absolutely. First of all, let's go to the fundamental truth of whom and what we are. We're infinite. We are not restricted to the physical. Once that truth is established, then it's our duty to investigate how far this goes. Well, it seems we have a presence in everything, everywhere, all through the dimensions, through primordial light and sound, through the primordial void, and our home is the beloved source of all things. So, in the words of Rumi, the great master Persian poet, we are a drop from the mighty ocean, and yet we are the mighty ocean in one drop. Now, what occurs through coming into this physical reality? We are burdened with many distortions and overlays, many different types of belief systems that make us believe we are small. Once these are removed to a sufficient degree, we are liberated once again. And so, following the soul journey or reading energetic libraries, such as the Akashic Records or the Divine Library of Life, many of them exist. Many species are OCD, they like keeping records. these are accessible. So really, it begins with being attuned to one's own senses. Then you find a thread where it's the start of the story, and you start pulling the thread. And the important thing beyond where the thread goes is if you are able to go where that thread goes. And sometimes people have blockages in the form of ancient wounds. Some of them not too ancient from the present incarnation, many of them from ancient times, truly ancient times of Atlantis and Lemuria, going even further back. Some of them before this universe was brought online. We have beings that migrate. So it requires sufficient liberation. And then, of course, a empty mind. There is nothing going on in my head. I don't research, I don't prepare, I don't think. It is what it is. And so in that way, you're an observer, very much childlike. Things bring you to passion and joy. Oh my God, what's this? Oh no, that's nasty. You see, it's just fresh and it's organic. So then you come across these injuries or obstacles, and in order to remove them, our wise and noble ancestors, they didn't have the toys that we have, but when it comes to the topic of consciousness, they were very advanced. It seems despite cyclical and repeated events of extinction that our species faces once every 10 to 12,000 years, shamanic wisdom is eternal. It is accessible to everybody. You just need to ask, demonstrate integrity, and the floodgates open. So shamanic instruments and approaches are incredibly useful in removing all of it.
So let's just take a little sidestep into you as
Okay.
a child, because as you were speaking, I was saying, I speak about what children need for learning. So
Yeah.
I call it spirit-directed learning within the prepared environment. So to me, this idea of how a child actually comes across knowledge is just as you were explaining. And I was seeing you as a child, and I was thinking, wow, I wonder how your mum perceived you, because I could just sort of see you looking at this frog, this toad, and kind of like, huh, and kind of going into this whole sort of exploration. Were you a very exploratory child?
I was a mad child, completely insane, climbing the walls, going into everything in my little body fitted in, electrocuting myself more than 10 times, running into the highway, cooking the goldfish because
We'll
because
see what
I
happens,
saw my
huh?
mom I saw my mom do it, and I said, okay, I'm going to help mommy. I covered the poor little goldfish in flour, battered it, and it was ready. And I called my mommy to turn the gas on because she told me not to touch the gas. So yes, I was a handful, and this abundance or overabundance of joy never left me. Well,
Mm.
there were exceptions in my life where I went through dark depression or the dark night of the soul, but that quickly went away. That was sort of a clash of ideology, really, believing that certain things are true and then facing the hypocrisy that, oh no, it's all doo doo. It's all a game for power and money and land. Like, I mean, come on, look at the recent 1,000 years of the world history. And so that was very traumatic. But generally speaking, I suffer from excessive happiness. And that's one of the things that really was an incredible thing to have, especially when dealing with the darker things in the non-physical realm, or realms,
So
well,
before
plural.
before we go there, because I would really like to, because we're going to be thrown a lot of darkness in the next few
Oh,
months, aren't we?
I
That it's
believe
not
so.
throw it be right in our faces. And you said that lovely piece near the beginning when you were talking about your ability to see or to discover things, and you were saying it's because you don't have, or a person who does not have blocks to their
Hmm.
perception, to their allowance of exploration into the Akashic records, into the records of the whales, or whatever it is that you want to go into. And that is what I know this from me, so that's why I like recognized it in you. as you were speaking and you were talking about the child and then this sort of moving into adulthood and where other people will have these kind of breaks and shutdowns, and you stayed open and knowing. Now, that's a very precious, important, valuable thing. Can you talk a little bit about that before we go on to talk about the other
Sure.
stuff?
Oh, yes, yes,
And I've
absolutely.
just got to let the cat out because she just said she wants to go out. Just
Oh,
give
can I
me
say
for a
hello to
moment.
Kitty?
Yes, come
I
on,
love
yes.
Kitty.
Say hello. Can I pick you up? You're not sure. You want to go out. Look, I just had to introduce you if you're going to interrupt the meeting. And this is Bim, who she discovered me. She sat outside my
Oh,
window for 6 days and then
wow.
climbed in through the upstairs window and stayed with me ever since. So
I love Kitty's style. We should all be more like, we should learn a thing or two from cats. They are
I know,
incredibly
they're
wise
just here,
animals.
aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
It's the tone of voice that does it.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Can
yeah.
you not hear? This is important.
Oh, well, how to stay open? I owe a debt of gratitude to the elementals. You see, when I was very, very small, I was very shiny. Even family members, they always say there was something different about you, and it's that overabundance of joy. I had visitations from an air elemental when I was about 4.5. I had a big windowsill in front of my bed. Every morning I'd wake up, and here was this little feminine, you would call maybe a fairy, elemental. I could make out the outline, not solid. And I would go, hey, I don't know what's going on, but hey, I'm happy you're here. And she would giggle with this soft, beautiful little giggle. Yes. And I remembered this. I remembered and never forgot. Now, years, decades later, it seems that that was always meant to be my thread to follow my way back home. I knew that this was absolutely real, despite what everybody in the decades that came tried to tell me. I remembered, I knew what was what. You see, that anchor was what guided me back. So after entering school, of course, they beat the magic out of you. Society does the same. Our belief systems do the same. So once those beliefs shattered, I was liberated once again with the curiosity to find my way home. And of course, I'd accumulated a very rich variety of burdens and blockages. I tried many, many methods. So initially, my journey was absolutely selfish. Heal thyself. But then I discovered that the approaches that were successful are successful, full stop. You can apply these to other people. And so I also came to this understanding that a lot of the harshness and pain, it's just a rite of passage. If you don't feel what you are about to heal, you're a lousy healer. It's like being a master chef who's never tasted their own dish.
Yeah.
And so this is how healers are born. They go through it and they heal, and then they can apply the same wisdom to others. Now, towards the removal of obstacles, I'm going to completely bypass the stuff that didn't work, go straight to that which did. It seems that the wise people of South and Central Asia, the Hindu and the Buddhists, they're right on the money. They've got an approach using mantras and mudras. Mantra is the spoken word, and mudra is the hand seal. There we go. And so the way you break through is brute force with repetition. The same way droplets of water carve their way through granite. With persistence, even though at the beginning we are pulling in a limited amount of light, we're cut off maybe. For what is worth, that is what we are working with. So you begin with where you are. So therefore, it really doesn't matter where you are, what you've been through. There's always a way up. With over 105,000 reps of 9 keys, you break through. Oh boy, you break through. And so this was about 10 years ago when I finished the first round of a modality called the Kujikiri. This is used by warriors and monks alike. The warriors liked it because it sharpened their reflexes by a factor of three. And of course, the monks and priests liked it because it would strengthen all the rest of the good stuff. It works. It's idiot proof. It worked for me. I guarantee it works. It just requires that persistence. And so 10 years ago, once I discovered, first it just brought up many, many storms in my life, but they were cleansing storms. When the dust settled and I looked around, I said, oh my God, I needed it. And I never stopped. So even right now, as we are speaking, I've got a little mala around my neck. I do these when I have dead time, just accumulating purification. I don't like to think of it in terms of becoming more powerful. You're increasing your capacity to pull in divine light. So maybe you're doing nothing, you can lie under a tree and think of absolutely nothing. But then need be, you pull in the forces of nature. You are the forces of nature. So yes, I think that covers it.
It's yeah, that's lovely. It's always interesting too. You know, the letter K all
Mhm.
around the world. It is one of the most powerful letters. And I don't know if you read the Radu Cinema books that Peter Moon publishes. He's Romanian, and it's all about the under-earth civilization that they found under the Bucegi Mountains in
Uh-huh.
Romania, linked to the Sphinx and various
Hmm.
places
Oh
throughout
yeah.
inner earth. And he talks with the inner earth people. He's given a lecture, essentially, a kind of three-dimensional one, about the letter K and its origin and what it stands for as this expression of the soul coming into existence and manifestation. And it's always
Beautiful.
great, you know, these words that we're not allowed to say, like Fuck.
Hmm. Hmm.
Brilliant word. That's why we should, and a lot of people still use it
Yes.
unconsciously because that K at the end is so very powerful.
Boom.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean it's a statement
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
car, you know, the name, the word for soul. It's fascinating, isn't it? How regardless of what you do and where you are, there are some intrinsic pieces of truth that cannot
You
be.
just brought up a whole stream of stuff that I'd read before. Oh, yes, I would like to strongly agree with this. Sound. Oh, oh, thank you. Thank you. I love you. Thank you. You know, sound is one of those things that is superior to light and dimensionality. It precedes their existence. And so therefore sound instruments, whether it's through chanting of sacred words, or whether it's through the use of a rattle or a drum or a sistrum, any kind of maybe air instrument, it is very powerful. It seems to amplify intention. So it's one of the things that I use most frequently. All of my sessions, my healing work is remote. And so when I want to clear blockages, I use these to great advantage. A collection of different rattles and drums and sistrums and bells. These are very, very powerful instruments.
I'm just putting together a very definitive explanation of why that works and how that works because I sang before I spoke. Okay. I mean, that was my language. And I kind of, you know, had to float around in the world's definition of what a singer is or isn't. And I never wanted to take on the lessons given by teachers. They didn't understand anything anyway. It was very strange working with teachers. So I discovered all about my voice in my meditations.
Mhm.
And it's now, you know, I have this name is a bell, which is hilarious. And I'm finding out the way it works, you know, on the quantum realm, because we know it works. We've got things about vibration and frequency and matching and standing waves and things like that, but it's starting to actually make it make sense what we know intuitively. So I think that's so cool. Isn't it interesting how
It is
it's so
absolutely.
precise?
Oh, yes. It seems to create the scaffolding of manifestation. Everything else falls into place. You're giving it the structure or the boundaries, or the let's say what is allowed, what is not. It's all vibration. Everything is vibration. Nothing is still. And so we're using this to create. It is one of the primary modalities of manifestation or magic. Very, very powerful. Now, the beauty of it doesn't even require molecules of air to move. It can be done with your consciousness.
Yeah. That's now let's go back into the elementals for a moment.
Okay.
Because, for example, last week when I was working with Helene, the storm, was it 10 days ago? And set up a group online all about that so we could work with it. And I was just going for a walk, just in my head, thinking, what could we do? And so I had a conversation with the elementals around me, the wind and some of the water, and they started talking to me in my head. So I wasn't speaking, but they were starting to talk to me. And then, of course, their faces manifested in the clouds, at the same time. So isn't that amazing? Because we've got to start to understand as a human population that this thought thing is a thing. It has
Oh,
energy.
yeah.
And where does it go and how does it go and how does it travel instantly? What is that? This quantum relativity is how you can sort of sit in Cambridge and scan Akim Ra out in the middle of the States and know, oh yeah, it's this, and this, and let's remove it and let's use this sound.
Well, time and location are limitations of the physical realm. What we do does not depend on our muscles or our strength or if we've eaten or not. It is very much so dependent on the rest of the human vessel, energetic realms. So many people are surprised. They're stuck in this understanding of physicality without the updates. That, oh, there's much more going on. But then it seems that they have this innate remembrance of it. So a few minutes into each session, as soon as they start feeling the tingling or the heat, as I'm describing, okay, now I'm working, for example, starting to gently enter the crown, very respectfully doing this and this and this, and they feel it, then they first, maybe some of them go, oh my God, I'm feeling it. But then the next reaction is, okay, I remember this. I've seen this before. And so there is a place for the conscious mind. That's the greatest obstacle that we face. And so therefore, correct explanation in every step. This is what is happening. Without any bias or any emotion or any good or bad. This is this, and so therefore we'll do this and this. Keeping it nice and simple. Many, many people suffer because they want to overburden the brain, the conscious, or let's say the physical part of consciousness, with material that was never intended for it. The only purpose of the brain is keeping us alive in physical reality. And it does that very beautifully. Now, for other stuff which comes from other places, we have other aspects of consciousness. The trick is calming the brain. I like to call it the monkey brain. Calming the monkey down to a sufficient degree for you to hear the gentle whispers of your soul. Once that language is established, the monkey can be brought on board with lots of bananas and treats and tickles. That yes, beloved conscious mind, there is more. And oh yes, of course, nobody is going to throw you off your tree throne. You have your value, you have your honored place, but there's more. You have more friends to play with, right? So I'm just kind of making light of it, but that's essentially the process. The mind needs to accept that it is not being overpowered or overruled or dethroned. It is just regaining its place of honor, like every other organ in the body. The heart beats, the kidneys work, we've got our digestive system working as we speak. They don't kick up a fuss. It's only the monkey brain that does this.
So let's talk about this because I'm going to use a personal example. So my father is a very brilliant minded being. He's invented many things over his life. He's experienced many frustrations and his emotional body is pretty bad from a childhood on, really.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, I just had a tiny bit of contact with him, saw this horrible entity that basically was dominating him. So worked with Creator. We removed it. I could feel a change for 2 days. Then something else came back, some
Mm-hmm.
other to replace it.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're talking about there is this inability to accept the beyond and therefore staying in this imprisonment.
Yes.
And this is the state that we're in, this transition, isn't it? The majority of humanity, we want to take them, allow them to see beyond their imprisonment. So
Yes.
what tools would you say? Because oh, I can feel it. We have tools. We're just starting to trust that we have tools. What
Yes.
tools can we use to shift that?
In my humble opinion, it must be done by the person. There are many ways to force an experience. Some like to use plant medicines, void of its shamanic and ceremonial setting. Some like to go through extreme dance, ecstatic dance, like the Sufis twirl. They go into a dizzy state and then the consciousness is that the bounds are loosened. Some go through extreme pain, some go through extreme hunger. But forced approaches, when the ego is still small, they usually don't last long. They remember, but it's like Stockholm syndrome. They are used to their captivity, and even if they are temporarily liberated, they just walk back into the next trap.
Mm.
This has to have a systematic approach in order for it to work. First and foremost, the person needs to wish to be free. That is absolutely necessary. Then comes regaining our rightful place as a member of the animal kingdom, because there is so much glory there, and through the distortions that our civilization is facing, many people have degenerated below what an animal is. They behave worse. They are more destructive and less useful. Once we claim our place as a member of the animal kingdom, we step into being what it is to be a human. We build up the energy. So this is basically going through the root, the tanden, then becoming human, sacral, sensuality, creation of art, beauty, enjoyment of all that is glorious in this beautiful world, moving up to taking responsibility, solar plexus, and then we get to the heart. The notion of love. Many people, and this is perhaps the most distorted idea among all of them, the idea of love. It is not something that you give and then somebody reciprocates. It is all about consciousness. And so once you learn what this is, essentially, you see all things as consciousness, then you transcend what it is to be human. As you go up the scale, you understand that truth is within you, that you are free from the bounds of identity. You manifest what you feel within you, and then you are truly free. The body rests on the infinite soul, or you acknowledge that you are the light, you are the void, and you are everything in between. So this is, I just described the process of Kujikiri, but the fundamentals are very valid. Now, if somebody achieves quote unquote mastery without going through the first few steps, including overcoming their base nature, becoming masterful over their thoughts and emotions, they gain power, but then they are ruled by anger, jealousy, greed, and so on. They become a force of destruction. It is the person that must do this. A good master or teacher or healer will just shake him up a little bit so that they can stand, then point in the right direction and say, off you go, bless your journey, I'm not carrying you.
So that's
It's
the
not possible.
interesting bit, because, there are many is relative, but there are many beings like us, like yourself, like myself, people you work with, people we come into contact and befriend, who are in this state of love and healing for humanity. And yes, if someone comes to us, we can work with them, with their desire, with their wish, and amplify it through our love, our faith, our knowing. There is this other thing, though, that I think we are starting to work with a little more. And I think that storm, what we did recently in Florida as a humanity, changing something which was artificially spun into wildness up to supposed to be category 6 down to a category 2, because we were not going to accept that kind of dastardly manipulation. But that's the environment. So we are saying we have some power now to, by being ourselves, by holding this awareness of what we are, to shift, change the atmosphere so that it's somehow easier for the others to find the air bubbles to breathe. What would you say about that?
I wholeheartedly agree. That is, so what you just described, let's call it for what it is, the end of the Dark Ages, because our noble ancestors have gone through many cycles, long cycles. We just finished the Dark Ages, the Kali Yuga. And so as a result, the next, let's say, 18 months is going to be very intense as those dark elements lose their ability to harvest energy from sentient life, and they're going to start panicking and going into a frenzy. But it's not going to last. And then we're going to enter probably a 3-century period of transition before the new golden age. What you mentioned about our symbiotic relationship with Mother Earth is one of the signs of this age beginning. Now, in older iterations of humanity, and I say iterations because the whole thing is an experiment with the purpose of creating the most spectacular being in the cosmos, which is the mighty human. In older iterations, the Earth bridge underneath the root, going through the feet, connecting to the Earth star, was left intact. And so we would anchor our light into the planet, heal her, but of course she is most gracious, so she would heal us. In fact, in older iterations of humanity, by the time we hit puberty, we were able to upload most of our soul memory through the natural grids of the planet. So you and the esteemed people that worked with you, and many across the world with this intention, you're all tapped back in. And so you are the planet is you. You are all aligned in intention to prevent harm. This is just going to get stronger. Now, guess what? As a result of this and the repair of Earth, the future generations of human that are going to be born will come in with more of their light.
You can see that in the babies already.
You can see it.
I have two grandbabies. The advance in their beings is just phenomenal.
Spot on. Spot on. We see this. You just need to be exposed or come by a newborn and you feel, you see, you sense the light coming in. So that is our heritage coming back. By the way, the purpose of this severance of our energetic circuitry was just to teach us how to adapt to the conditions. Another, like I like to think of it as you're baking pottery in a furnace. They bake for a day, and then at the very last, say, few hours, you turn the heat right up, and then you get that shiny, beautiful glaze. This last 250,000 years, where all the riffraff of the universe, the pirates and the Anunnaki and the reptilians and all these degenerates were invited in, that's the final stage. And guess what? You and I and many people are evidence that we have learned to out-evolve them. Now we are ready. So the experiment, which is this process of guaranteed unnatural evolution, is coming to a close. Mission accomplished. So those beings who have governed this, they have earned yet another badge of honor. Their work is exemplary. As an engineer, I must admire the beauty and complexity of what they've put together. So really, there is no cruelty. People, well, let's call them for what they are. Sparks of light or souls can come in and through this unnatural environment earn rites of passage. Okay, you don't remember who you are, none of your powers are with you, and then you are betrayed. Your heart is broken into a million pieces. Can you fix yourself? Do you have the capacity to learn? learn self-love, and then extend this love to others. That is no easy thing. Many of us go through that one or two or maybe 20 times, but eventually we learn. You see, now that's mission accomplished. So yes, I hail and praise our beautiful Mother Earth. Without her, this experiment could not happen. Many of these approaches are technological, so therefore they rely on sampling the infinite reality. And there's a limitation to what a computational approach can provide. Now, the missing parts are filled by Earth. It's her gift. So that miraculous evolution and adaptation, that's her gift. So we would all be wise not to neglect healing the Earth and receiving healing from her. So in point and fact, what you just did, may there be more of it. And as a species, we're going to benefit from this.
There will be more. Amir, we're just at the end of this session because I use free Zoom. Could you dial in for a few more minutes? Could you just use
Yeah,
this link? Yeah? Okay.
sure thing.
Beautiful.
Okay,
Okay, I will see you in a moment.
I'll see you in a moment.
Ciao.
Bye.